Well, hello. Thanks for coming back to check out another video. So, we are here today to sit down and do the Project Panner 2022 tag that was created by the wonderful, lovely Ruth. But before I get into that and give you all of the details for this Project Panner tag, I want to quickly say that if you are loving this very summery eye look like I am, the inspiration behind this was my lovely soul sister Laura. So I'm going to make sure I leave her linked in the cards and down below, as well as her video. This was from her June BYOP video. So after building her palette out of her singles, she did an eye look, and she did this really just so lovely, so summery, pink, yellow, orangey look. And I told her, I was like, ooh, I'm gonna have to try to recreate that. So I hope that I did her justice. I had so much fun doing this eye look. It's not a color combination that I necessarily would have put together, but I feel like this is an eye look I'm going to repeat throughout these summer months. So now let's go on and let me tell you about the actual tag video. So like I said, this was created by Ruth. I will of course have her listed down below as well. And then I think she did this as like a collaboration type style video with a bunch of other wonderful people. So I will also leave them linked down below. If you have done this type of video too and you want to sound off in the comments, that way other people could come and find you, then go right ahead. Like, by all means, plug yourself. So I think Ruth came up with 10 questions related to project panning, obviously. And then I think Deb and Dannie also each added in a question. So it makes for 12 questions in total. Yeah, I think that is everything that I need to say. I'm always like so afraid that I'm going to forget something or forget to credit someone in these little introductions, but I always try to make sure that my description box is really nicely filled out. Also, down in the description box, in case you want to do this but you don't like create content but you want to answer these questions, I'll have a clean copy in the description box, and by all means feel free to answer them in the comment section down below. So without any further rambling, let's get right on into these 12 questions. Okay, so easiest category to pan. Now if you were asking me what is your easiest category to hit pan on, I'm gonna say eyeshadows. I just feel like, for me personally, it's easy, and I think that it's my method of application specifically. I tend to be a little bit more heavy-handed than most people, I think. I also really like to layer and pack on matte shadows as well as shimmer shadows, just to really make the, I guess, vibrancy come through. So I feel like it's easier for me to hit pan even on some of those more traditionally harder eyeshadow formulas out there. But if you were asking me this question like start to finish, what is the easiest category to pan? It's a tie. I think setting sprays and primers are the easiest for me to pan. So far in this year, we're sitting here and it's like June something or another. I've already finished off 5 setting sprays and 5 primers within the year. So I think that those are my 2 categories with the greatest like amount of product used up in them for the year as we sit here at the halfway point. I just feel like those are easy, for me at least, to incorporate in and like zero in my focus on, because while they help your makeup application, they don't really change it in the sense of like whatever primer you use is gonna, you know, make your face a different color, or whatever setting spray you use. Like, it's a day in and day out product, and so you don't get sick of it the same way you do as using like that same blush day in and day out. Okay, hardest category to pan. I'm just gonna put in lip products, any type of lip products. Lip glosses, lip liners, bullet lipsticks, liquid lipsticks. Like, I don't care what it is, it's just hard for me. I think on the year I have only finished off like 1 lip gloss and 1 bullet lipstick, and the bullet lipstick was a mini. So, you know, I'm still proud of that accomplishment, but it just goes to show me like how slow going I am with my lip products. And I think part of that is that I tend to only apply like bullet or liquid lipsticks. That is such a hard pairing of words. I only apply those things once a day typically. Now lip glosses, lip balms, things like that, I will reapply throughout the day, but I do think that my method of application is one reason why lipsticks do take me so long to get through. Okay, question 3, a product that you flew through. Now some of these questions that are more like product specific type questions, I tried to keep my answers to items that I'm either currently working on within this calendar year or have finished off within this calendar year. That way I could bring out props for you guys. So again, question 3, an item that you flew through. This is from Revlon. This is their Color Stay Lock 24-hour setting mist. This is a 1.9 fluid ounce bottle or 56 mils of product. This was just terrible. I did not like this. This did not in any way help your makeup set down. It didn't take away the powderiness or anything like that. I finished this off in the winter months, and typically in the winter months, my skin is a little bit more on the like dry side, rather than as we move into summer, it does get like a little bit more oily. So this did nothing in the winter time, so I know for sure this would have done nothing in the summertime. And I guess the real point of this question is that you flew through it. So I feel like this is a smaller size bottle than some of the other like standard setting sprays. Like I feel like the Urban Decay All Nighter is a 4-ounce bottle, and I know that that does come with a heftier price tag, but I just feel like I flew through this, one, because it is smaller, and two, because since it was such a bad product and didn't really do the things that I want, I know for sure that I oversprayed this on my face. All right, a product you lost the will that it took so long to pan. Now, I actually did end up finishing this off, but there were many a time where I was like, no, just be done with this. I hate this. So this is from ColourPop. This is their blush stick in the shade Hen Party. I believe this is a discontinued like shade. However, it was just one of those like pinky brown kind of shades, and I'm sure they have something similar within their line. I rolled this in back in January to Partners in Cream, and I just finished it off recently, like I think maybe my May update, and this already had good use on it prior to bringing it into that project. So it took almost like half the year to finish this off, and it's just not a formula that I love. I don't love the stick format for like cream highlighters or cream blushes. It's just not for me. I feel like they kind of lift up your foundation. So also just with this particular formula from ColourPop, it wasn't like, it was easy to blend out and easy to work with once you got it on, but it just, I don't know, it just wasn't my favorite. Like I have so many other cream blushes and I can't really quite put my finger on it, but it just, I don't know, I love them so much better. I don't know if it's like the color payoff, the formula, or that I love the colors more, but yeah, this was just a chore to work through, not a favorite product, but I'm really glad that I did actually end up finishing it off. All right, a product that you wouldn't let beat you. I'm gonna put in the Essence Brighten Up Banana Powder. Look, you guys, is this the first time Essence packaging has not broken and someone has used up the product? So anyway, you can see my nice shiny empty pan here. I'm not sure like when exactly I'll finish this off this year, but this is the banana powder. So much like the name suggests, it has a little bit of like a yellowness to it. And I really thought this would be great to use underneath my eyes to set down my concealer and help just brighten up my face overall. And it wasn't. It left like this distinct line of demarcation between like where you set your concealer versus where you powdered the rest of your face, which was really off-putting, not a look that I'm personally going for. And then two, this always made my under eyes look crepey and cakey and just creasy, and I would go in with such a light hand with this too, so I don't think it was like I was wearing too much product, you know? But yeah, I'm really excited that I did actually finish this off within this year and no longer have this kicking around. All right, easiest eyeshadow formula to pan in matte and shimmer shades. So let's talk about the matte shades first. I'm gonna put in Lorac here. You guys know I absolutely love Lorac. I love their new formula a little bit better than their older formula. They didn't really change the mattes so much from what I can tell, new versus old. It was much more like they reformulated their shimmers. So their shimmers in these new palettes are a little bit more impactful and punchy, but either way, I still feel like their matte formula is typically easy to hit pan on. They do tend to be a little bit more on the powdery side. However, some of their mattes are much more tightly pressed. Like a good rule of thumb from what I have found is the darker a Lorac shadow goes, the more tightly pressed it's going to be within that matte formula. But their pans also, I feel like you get a good bit of product within a Lorac palette, but their pans tend to be on the like thinner, more shallow side, so it's just easier to hit pan in an eyeshadow like that. Within this palette, this is a combination of the Fairy Tale Forest and the Pro Noir palette that they put out. And so I do have two pans in here, one on this matte shade and then one on this like topper shade. And I finished off from my Pro Noir palette, the matte like cream shade. So this is the formula that I would say has the easiest mattes to hit pan in. All right, the formula with the easiest shimmers. I think this is no surprise. I feel like ABH is gonna pop up either in the matte, shimmer, or both spot for this question with like everyone. So I did put them in for shimmers. I just have the ABH Jackie Aina palette for reference for you guys. And again, much like with the Lorac shadows, while their shimmers are pretty impactful, the pans are just so small. You don't get a lot of product in these ABH palettes, surprisingly. And then with the small pans, they do tend to be a little bit more on the shallow side. So like I said, this is the Jackie Aina palette, and as far as shimmer shadows go, I have panned in 6 shimmers, and then pan in 4 mattes, so 10 pans in all. But yeah, those are the easiest matte and shimmer eyeshadow formulas, in my opinion, to hit pan on. All right, so we talked about the easiest formulas to hit pan on, so it only makes sense that we should talk about the hardest eyeshadow formulas to hit pan on. So for matte shadows, I'm gonna go with Juvia's Place, and to be quite honest, I probably could have put them in for shimmers as well, but I just wanted to like give a little bit of variety to this answer. So for matte eyeshadows, I did bring out a Juvia's Place palette. This is the Festival palette. Now I do have 3 pans on 3 of the shadows within this palette, and they were quite a chore to get to. Juvia's Place mattes are very tightly packed. They are also really, really pigmented, so a little bit goes such a long way. I feel like too, even though these pans are bigger, they're not shallow like you would think. Like they do pretty much still have like a lot of depth to them. So yeah, it's just a formula where if you go out and you are trying to pan this, my biggest tips would be pick a color that is something you won't get bored of and you can incorporate into a lot of eye looks. Also, don't feel bad about focusing your brush, because as you can see, that's exactly what I did to get my 3 little pans. So there's still like a ton of product within this palette. I really struggled to answer the question with like what shimmer formula is the hardest to hit pan on. Now, like I said, I could have put in Juvia's Place, but I still, at the end of the day, while they take a little bit longer than maybe another formula, I still feel like shimmer shadows are just easier for me personally to hit pan in rather than matte shadows. But the palette that I picked was actually my Persona Identity palette for shimmer shadows. And it's simply because their shimmers are really tightly pressed in here. Like you don't get a lot of kick up or a lot of movement with the shimmer shadows, because I feel like in my experience, like a matte shadow kind of just feels like powder, but a shimmer shadow always seems to have a little bit of give to it. You know what I mean? Not like a putty texture necessarily, but just a little bit of give. However, not with these shimmer shades, and their pans are fairly deep in here. So I have finished off 1 shimmer shadow within this palette, the Seductive shade, and then I've hit pan on the Sassy shade here. I will bring it in just so you can see, and maybe if I tilt it this way, you can kind of get an idea of like just how deep those pans are within this palette, but it's still a really lovely formula. I do greatly enjoy the Persona palette. All right, best alternative use to use a product up faster. Now I do have 2 answers for this. One of them comes from Laura. This was something I had never thought about, and I don't know if a lot of people have thought about, so I do want to give her credit. I got this from her. It's not something that I necessarily have to do, but I think it's a really good tip for those of you with darker hair, because I feel like the biggest complaint the darker your hair is that dry shampoo leaves a white cast in your hair. So Laura has put out there many a time that her tip with trying to make that work is to take some of your darker eyeshadows. Like she has very like dark, almost black hair, at least that's how it comes across on camera. So she'll take those darker eyeshadows and put those in as a dry shampoo into her hair. It absorbs all of those oils that she is experiencing, and then 2, it doesn't leave that white cast in her hair. So if you do have darker hair and you have yet to try that and you are struggling to pan some of those darker eyeshadows, maybe give that a whirl and just see how it works for you. The tip that I am going to bring for you is that if you have a more hydrating setting spray that you are just not enjoying, like this one in particular is from ColourPop. This is their Pretty Fresh spray with hyaluronic acid. It was just too much for my skin. It made me look like a grease ball. If you are experiencing that too and you are someone who straightens your hair, try using it as a heat protectant. I feel like it did a decent job. My hair wasn't like any more damaged than it is from already straightening it. And the smell was quite lovely. Like this had a faint, like, I don't know, almost kind of, not coconut, but I don't know, it had some type of scent to it, and it just kind of smelled lovely. So even if you don't straighten your hair, but you have a more hydrating setting spray that you're struggling, maybe you just try using it as a leave-in conditioner. I feel like those are the best tips that I can bring you to answer this question. Okay, so the last question talked about alternative uses. So this is just what project panning tip or trick can you give to just finish up a product, not like an alternative use thing. So the best tip that I can give is that please, once a week, deep clean your brushes. And I don't mean use like the little e.l.f. brush cleaning spray or just, you know, wipe them off on like a dry cloth or something like that. I mean actually go in and take whatever cleaning product it is that you like to use and deep clean your brushes. Get all of that gunk and all of that product off of there, because the more makeup buildup that you have on a brush, the less actual makeup you can pick up on your brush. Hopefully that makes sense. But yeah, a clean brush picks up more product. You apply it to your face. You're not like overusing, you're not wasting. It's just a clean brush will pick up more product. And so by having those clean brushes, you're gonna accomplish those goals of hitting pan or finishing off an item much sooner. Okay, next question. What has project panning taught you? I have 2 answers for this. So the biggest thing that it has taught me is that like before I started doing this and really like taking account and like keeping track of empties and things like that, I would have been like, finish up 10 foundations, 2 bronzers, 3 blushes, and 4 eyeshadow palettes within a year. No, you don't. And if you're sitting there and you've never tracked your empties and you have that thought like, oh, I know I go through 5 bronzers in a year, keep track of your empties. I'm sure it'll be eye-opening. I'm sure you don't finish off as much as you think you do. So project panning just shows really how long it does take from start to finish to use up that one piece of makeup. It's just so eye-opening. Then the other thing that it has really taught me is that like at the end of the day, there are some items where it's like, okay, I don't like this. It's not a repurchase, but it's not terrible and I can use it up. I think that that's fine. Use up those items where it's like, they're not terrible, they're not bad. I'll just use them up and get them out of my collection. But when we sit here, and I am bad to do this too, so when we sit here and we're like, no, I absolutely hate this item with everything in me to my core, there's just no point. Like, just pass it on, declutter it. It's okay. Give it to a good home, someone who will love it, because there's no like, you know, value to that. Like, yes, you're gonna finish off that item and you can sit here and say like, look, I used up the product, I got my full dollars. But while you were hate panning this item, other things that you actually love and enjoy were sitting in your collection and you weren't using them. So I'm just kind of putting that out there because it's a struggle that I feel like we all go through. Like, we want to, I guess, defeat the really bad items, you know? And like I said, I do it myself, so I need to remind myself of this constantly. But yeah, those are my 2 things that project panning has taught me. Okay, so question 11 comes from the lovely Deb B. This is, what product are you the most proud of panning? Now, like I said earlier, I tried to keep this to like things I'm actually working on within this year, but this is just my pride and joy, and I will never miss an opportunity to talk about this. You probably know. The Bomb How About Them Apples palette. This was a full-on cream blush palette with 6 shades in here, and I absolutely loved every single minute of it, even the cobbler shade, which was a dark red shade. At the end of the day, I really did enjoy it, and I miss this palette so much. If they still made this would be the only cream blush palette that I would own, the only cream blushes that I would own within my collection. It was just so nice, so lovely, the formula, the shades, the everything. And there's a part of me that like, I sit here and I look at this and I'm like, Haley, you did a thing. Like, you rock. Like, you finished off an entire cream blush palette. Go you. But then there's another part of me that's like, Haley, why did you have to pan that? Like, why couldn't you have saved that? Which is silly, because I know as a cream product, it would expire more quickly than powder products. But you know, there's that back and forth when it's something you can no longer get. But yeah, this is my biggest, proudest panning achievement, and this will continue to be my proudest panning achievement until that one day that I, you know, finish off an eyeshadow palette, which might never come. But anyway, this is the palette, this is the product that I am the most proud of, like, panning start to finish. Okay, so then question number 12 comes from the wonderful Dannie. So her question is, what is your favorite project to watch? Now, I have to say, anything eyeshadow panning, I don't know, I just gobble that up. Like, they're all good. I enjoy all the project pans. I love the theming. I love the collaboration effort that goes behind it. I love the community and the cheering it on. But there is something about eyeshadow centered project pans that I'm just super invested in. So pan that palette, pan those eyeshadows, project level up, whatever iteration it is, just as long as it's eyeshadows, I'm like, I'm here for it. And I like eagerly wait every month for like everyone to put up their new updates. Like, it's just a project that I don't get tired of. I even go back and watch people's old pan that palette videos, and it's kind of like how, you know, when you rewatch a movie that you've seen time and time again, but you still get really invested in it, like, oh, are they gonna finish off that shade? Like, even though I've seen some of these like pan that palette series time and time again, I still get super invested, and I'm like, man, she is so close to finishing that shade. I hope she does it by the next update. So yeah, that wraps it up though for this wonderful tag video. Again, please make sure that you go and say hello to all of the people linked in the description box. You will enjoy all of them. I am sure they all are very lovely and put out a bunch of wonderful content. I appreciate that you stuck around, made it till the end. I hope you're having a good day, a good night, or a good whatever, and I will catch you in the next one. Bye.